I think we should start.
I think you can
We
start.
have we look like we're at about where we're supposed to be for registration. Um so welcome everybody. My name is Liam McGahern. I'm ILAB's director of the education portfolio, and I want to welcome you to our webinar about the CABS Minnesota Rare Book School. It's wonderful to see so many faces joining us here today, and we're delighted by the strong interest in this session. We hope today's conversation will give you a clear sense of the training opportunities available in our field, and in particular, what makes programs like CABS such a unique and valuable experience. The Colorado Antiquarian Book Seminar, today known as CABS Minnesota, is one of the longest running and most respected training programs in the rare book world, with a history spanning over 50 years. It's very impressive. Over that time, it has trained generations of booksellers, librarians, and specialists, many of whom have gone on to play important roles in the ILAB rare book trade. Forgive me. What makes CAB so special is its immersive and highly practical format. Participants spend an intensive week working closely with experienced booksellers and specialists, covering core skills such as bibliographic description, cataloging, pricing, and understanding the market. But just as importantly, it offers something less tangible but equally valuable: the opportunity to build lasting professional networks, exchange knowledge, and become part of a community that extends far beyond the seminar itself. For many attending, CABS has been a truly formative experience, whether at the beginning of a career or at a moment of transition, offering not just practical skills, but also a deeper understanding of what the rare book world is. It is without a doubt one of the most exciting and rewarding opportunities to learn the trade. So it's my pleasure to introduce our speakers. We have Maria Lin, who has worked as a bookseller with Rulon-Miller Books since 2013 and has been a member of the CABS Minnesota faculty since 2014. She teaches bibliographical description, database management, and photography, key skills for working in today's rare books world. Garrett Scott began his career in rare books at Stanford University Special Collections in 1990, and later worked at Brick Row Bookshop in San Francisco. And then since 1988, he's been in his own business, Garrett Scott Bookseller in Ann Arbor, Michigan. He joined the CABS facility in 2016 and brings extensive experience, especially in what he described as the printed and written residue of weird old America. He has also served on the board of governors of the ABAA and on its security committee. We also have Josh Knight. Josh was the recipient of the 2024 ILAB CABS Scholarship. Josh now runs Manchester Rare Books and has recently opened his own brick and mortar shop, offering a valuable perspective as a recent participant in the program. We'll save questions for the end, but maybe Garrett, could you introduce to the CABS program?
Thanks, Liam. I've been the director of the seminar for the past couple of years now, and every year we're trying to bring in new perspectives on what the trade looks like today and build up the kind of practical day in, day out, hands-on knowledge that you need to sell books. And when I say books, I mean books, ephemera, vernacular photography, archives, found collections, manuscripts, the whole gamut of what makes up what the contemporary antiquarian book trade encompasses. And it really is, Liam used intensive and residential, and it is. We are stuck together on a small college campus in the country, in the middle of the United States, and all we do for a week, essentially, is talk about bookselling and the antiquarian book market. The week itself is kind of almost a medieval emblem book of the book trade. It starts from what happens when you get a book first in your hand, to doing the research, to doing the bibliographic description, to describing it, to photographing it, to preparing to ship it, and how you're going to navigate your way around the book market, from putting out e-lists to displaying at book fairs, to working with libraries and institutions and cultivating those markets as well as collectors. The etiquette, the expectations of the trade, and also the new ways in which the book trade has been growing and evolving, and trying to imagine what that future of the book trade will look like. So, on a very nuts and bolts level, we're going to try to give you things that you can do to help you be a better bookseller. But you're also going to be in a room with people who are going to spend a week trying to discuss the ways that we think we can all grow and make a better book trade. So it can be a lot to kind of get your arms around, but I'm always happy to talk more if anyone has questions, even after we get off this call today, and wants to send me questions. And I'll say the other thing that does happen is you do make these connections with your new colleagues or colleagues you may already know at the seminar. You know, my phone, two, 3 times a day, I've got messages from folks that I've met at CABS, either sending me notes to offer me stuff, calling me with questions, or otherwise just checking in. So the networks you build there, I really believe, will help serve you as you move through the book trade in the future. So that's kind of my very long elevator pitch for what CABS is. And I'll kick it over to Maria to see if she has anything she wants to add.
No, I think that's a pretty good summary. I'd say that we emphasize quite a bit on giving you practical skills that you can use pretty much as soon as you get back to work. Sometimes people feel like we give them too much to do once they get back from work, but we try to be very practical in what information we provide, but at the same time, we sort of anchor everything in a much bigger picture in terms of what the trade looks like as an industry, what we look like as a community, how to make sure that as a community, we're bringing more people into the trade, not just as booksellers, but as collectors, because those are the people we need in order to survive. So, we try to keep it quite balanced and interesting in terms of the program. Yeah.
Right. Maybe, Maria, could you tell us, how much time is spent in the classroom and then how much is time spent doing practical stuff, I guess?
So it is a relatively lecture intensive program at the moment, but there are many opportunities for you to get your hands dirty and sort of put these skills to practice while you're there. So over the course of the week, everyone is given a number of books to use to apply the skills that we teach. So you're going to be given rare books that you will yourself be researching, learning how to describe, learning how to collate. And we also have a pretty substantial learning library now. So we have something called the physical, like Carter's ABC, if you're familiar with that book. So we have sort of physical examples of a lot of bibliographic concepts that you can spend time looking at and using. You can figure out what calf and sheep are by actually getting a chance to look at a lot of examples and things like that, which can be very helpful. The course itself, we have a lot to get through. So, from like 9 to 5, you're basically going to be in class either listening to lectures or applying what you've learned, or sitting at lunch together and sort of coming up with questions or discussing issues amongst the other booksellers, because they tend to be another major resource. And then there are a few after hours programs as well, but that usually encompasses the full week. There's a lot of lecturing and a lot of application for sure.
Right.
I'll say, as the guy who hauled the 50 cartons of reference books and example books out of storage last year and hauled them up into the classroom, I mean, we have a substantial example of a reference library that an antiquarian bookseller might use to demonstrate the research that you do as you're cataloging materials. And besides the 3D Carter, which has material that embodies terms peculiar to the book trade, we also have a new thing called Evil Carter, which are examples of material which may be problematic, modified, or otherwise requires kind of a good second look. You know, things from being things that are rebacked to some fairly subtle forgeries put together by our former faculty member, Mir Naguib, who has a very sort of good sadistic sense of dangling things in front of booksellers to make them really take a good second look. So we've heard it called a fire hose, and it is a bit of that, but there's a lot of chance to kind of decompress and do other hands-on stuff outside of the lectures. So we cover a lot of ground, and so it's really hard to say whether it is a lot of lecture because it's a lot of everything.
Right. And what about the practical stuff? Like, do you guys talk about things like house calls and wrapping and shipping parcels? All big things that we do every day, but are specific to what we do. Do you guys discuss that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a 20-minute lesson on just packing books, a 20-minute lesson on just how to do book photography. We've had one on how to set up e-lists or how to use, for example, MailChimp, which is a very common e-list platform. We talk about how to manage a database, so what fields are necessary and so on and so forth. When we talk about cataloging, we go line by line, like where does the author go in? How do we format the author field? How do we separate a description from its like physical description to the pitch and so on and so forth. So these are all pretty hands-on things, and we talk about them sometimes on a step-by-step basis.
Right. Yeah. Some of those little details are just so important, right? Is that me? No. Picking up some feedback.
And I think I think that the practical stuff does involve paying attention to things you think you already know. So we will go over things like the photography and like the shipping. And it's a week where we expect you to have strong opinions about things because we do too. So the practical material is really a chance to refine what you may think you already know and think about it more deeply. Even something as much as like your tape choice when closing up a parcel.
Right, of course. Josh, can I bring you in here as the scholarship winner in 2024 and someone's just attended as a student? What was your experience at CABS?
I mean, it was great. A lot of it was learning different perspectives from how I had previously done things because I've been trading for 2 years and I'm a second generation bookseller. But sort of learning, those little things like, MailChimp and how to properly package and photograph books was great. But it was sort of looking at it from other people's way of doing it and realizing stuff that I didn't like doing before. So I liked simple modern firsts and easy stuff, because that's you list it online, it makes money and that's it. But sort of the way, especially Maria and Garrett actually explained cataloging and collation and why it's important and how you can then use it to find out something cool and also make more money. Definitely changed how I've done business since. And sort of stuff like how easy it is to actually do a MailChimp list. I just had no idea on it. I just sold at fairs and sold to the trade. But since then I've done 6, 7 lists, maybe 8. And, I do well on them every time. And then the connections I made I made some really great, friends out there that I still talk to both in, for work and also just in group chats that we, have a good time in. But I've bought great books from people over in America that I met through that. And, I've got a lot of people now that I can badger questions about reference points on dust jackets. So yeah, it's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And sorry, how did you learn about the CABS program? Just through the trade, or?
Well, I did YABS because someone told me about that at a dinner before I started actually doing this full time, and then I just heard about it and thought I'd apply for a scholarship. I didn't think I had much hope in getting it, but I did, and yeah, it was a good time.
Right. Good lesson. Scholarships goes to those who apply. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And can one of you maybe just tell us about the campus? Like, what's it like out there at Northfield in Minnesota?
I guess it's a bit out there, but I really like the fact that a lot of people just stay in the same dorms and stuff. It kind of feels like beginning of college or university or something. It's
Right.
sort of you do all the work in the day and then you see all your pals in the evening. I mean, when I was there, everyone was bringing their books in from the show they did before and buying and selling books, which was great. And it was nice to be able to relax with people and get to know each other and have conversations about things, books and non-book related. It was fun. It felt like being young again, Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, that's great. Well, we're moving right along here. Would anybody like to take a moment? Are there any questions out there that anybody has? Angelica?
Yes, Maria, could you give a sort of an overview of the sort of subjects you cover at CABS? I mean, there a few keywords fell now, but maybe just sort of go through the care of books, basic descriptions you cover. Just maybe give it a little overview exactly what the course entails.
Sure. So the first thing we cover is sort of basics of bibliographic description, and this covers sort of the essential elements of a description that sort of a collector or a buyer is going to be looking for. This includes how to properly format an imprint so that there's no confusion as to what the imprint of a book is, and the physical description of the book. So how do you describe a leather book? How do you describe a hand-press period book versus a book that was perhaps produced in the Mimeo period? And those are going to be two different approaches. A lot of people who come to CABS, this may be their very first time having a chance to thoroughly describe a hand-pressed period book, so a book that was published maybe before 1800 or so. And so we take that step by step. We figure out how to determine the format of a book, what to look for in terms of chain lines, whether or not a book is complete, which is very important, particularly for books of that age. We give a general overview of sort of the history of printing, so you get a sense of why these questions are important. And even if you're a bookseller who doesn't anticipate dealing in, early Western material, it helps quite a bit to get an understanding of, why the books that we have now look the way they do, because all of it sort of comes from the sort of development of printing from that era. So we talk a lot about that. We talk about describing illustrative processes. So there are a lot of different types of illustrative processes, and how do you describe that so that the book buyer knows what it is that they're looking at. And then we jump all the way to the modern day, and we start talking about things like, at least I do, we talk about photography. So what sort of processes you can use to make that a very efficient and sort of decrease your labor costs for photography, because photography is very essential right now because most of us are selling quite a bit through the internet, and a lot of buyers now expect good photographs of their books, but it's also a very labor intensive process. So we talk a bit about how to do it quickly, how to do it efficiently, how to give customers exactly the information that they're looking for when they're looking at the pictures. And then we talk about database management, which was also a very current issue. Is changing all the time in terms of what services are available, what sales platforms are available, what they expect you to be able to provide in terms of information, how you make your books more findable on the internet, and so on and so forth. So we go into all of those issues. And those are the three things that I cover personally at CABS. And of course, other dealers will talk about, for example, how to deal with possible forgeries, how to go onto a house call, how to buy at a fair or prepare for a fair. All of those things are covered.
Can I ask another question? When I went to CABS, what I found was fantastic was the business basics lecture. I don't know who's teaching that now, but
yeah, I think Brian Cassidy will be doing it this year, right?
Nope. Well, we've got Rebecca Romney on it, but
Rebecca's,
with Brian in the room, we're gonna. You can't sell books if you're not still in business after you've started selling books. So there's a lot. One can get rather caught up in the romance of the book, but we want to make sure that you're also equipped to look at your balance sheet, look at your P&L statement, and understand how you can continue to move forward in the trade in a sustainable way. And so that's also a chunk of what we do cover in the course of the week.
Which ties into a lot of pricing questions also, right? How much can you afford to buy the book? How much can you afford to sell the book for? So we go from the
how much,
yeah,
and how to check,
which then ties into how much time you can spend researching the book, how much you're going to spend in investing in your research resources versus how much of research will create value in the material you're handling. And it also helps you think about other markets you might not be in access to. I think, Josh, you may not have been dealing with institutions before you came to the seminar, right? And
I never thought about it. And then a few months after the seminar, I did actually sell to institutions. So I think with all this stuff, you can maybe not think it's going to be for you. It's similar lecture. You think, oh, this isn't going to matter to what I want to do. But then you can hear little bits and then just take small bits from each lecture and use that to carry on in business and just learn more opportunities, basically, I would say.
And look, I learn something new every year as well. I mean, I make my 10-hour drive home, and the wheels are turning in my own head. This year we've got Mary Catherine Kinnerborough of Granary Book in New York is our special guest faculty member. And the work she does with literary archives and avant-garde culture is fantastic. And she's going to be in conversation teaching with Cheryl Barreto of the Beinecke Library at Yale about current issues in the archives market. And, honestly, that right there, I think, could well be worth the price of admission if you have any interest in the archival market as it stands now with institutions and booksellers. So there's something there for really kind of, like Josh said, you may be surprised at the markets you didn't know you wanted to work in when you come to the seminar.
Angelica?
Also, who is coming to the seminar? Is it because, you're based in the States? Obviously, Josh is in the UK. Can you talk a little bit about your audience or your participants?
I think one thing about the CABS seminar, which may, and this is a perception, is that there's differentiate from other offerings in the market, is that it's kind of a wide range of folks. We usually get between 50 and 60 people in the room. We try to cap it at about 50 just so we can have a good student faculty ratio and have plenty of time to talk with each one of you. But we've got people who are young, early career booksellers. We've got people who are somewhat more advanced in their careers as booksellers. We've got people who are in a career shift and are early career booksellers after having spent time in another industry. We've had at least 3 or 4 special collections librarians and curators attend the seminar each year since we returned to in-person instruction in 2022. Often because they want to get a sense of what the market is and how better to work with members of the trade to bring the material in to their institutions so that their researchers can be at the leading edge of dealing in new materials or previously unknown materials. There's a real kind of mix of folks there. It's not just young apprentice booksellers, though we do get some of those as well, but a whole kind of a broad range of folks who are looking to learn more about the antiquarian book trade.
And based and from what countries? They're not just from the States.
No, not just from the States. We get it tends to be Anglo-American with some European dealers, but we had who was our ILAB Julia back
Juliana.
2 years ago from Juliana from Tokyo. It's a real crossroads. And I'll note, as Josh said about it, kind of it's a bit in the middle of nowhere. I mean, the motto of the town of Northfield is colleges, cows, and contentment. So, I mean, it is kind of a rural setting, but it punches above its weight as far as cultural offerings goes. I mean, there's 2 small liberal arts colleges in the town. The food is pretty good. The scenery is fine. It's a great place to spend a warm summer week doing nothing but talking about book and book selling. So I would encourage you, if you don't think of yourself as really a Midwestern person like I am, to give it a try.
Liam, I have more questions, but please ask the others first.
Yeah. Does anybody else? I think we can ask questions all day, but does anybody else have any questions? Yes, Aaron down there.
Hi, this might be more for Josh than anybody else, but how do you feel that the information you learn at CABS translates globally when it comes to things like where you're sourcing your books, how you're pricing them, local etiquette for things like house calls? Does that translate over well?
Yeah, I mean, for England, yeah. I mean, I think in America, England, and stuff like that, it will it will correlate pretty easily to anywhere else. Obviously, there's differences in the US market and stuff. I mean, that's just what it is. But all the information I learned, I think, it applies to me where I am today. Yeah, I don't think there was any problem. I don't know how. I know French institutions are impossible to sell to unless you're French, but other than that, I don't really. It all seemed, everything I've learned and put into practice, it's worked well here. The sort of house call stuff I'd already been doing, but yeah, it was just more perspectives on things, more ideas. I didn't see too much difference. So I think it was very transferable, basically. Yeah.
Anybody else? No. It sounds like the courses change year to year to year. So you're constantly keeping up to date with the latest things, the latest, not so much trends, but our latest issues. What about, do you guys talk a lot about like security in the trade and sort of email frauds and it's something we're all affected by, and we're all getting, I suspect, the emails every day. Do you guys discuss that at all?
Oh, we do. Rebecca Romney has taken over this lecture, and for as frightening as I tried to be about questions of security and fraud, she is even more sobering when you hear her give the lectures on how you can protect yourself in the market against everything from credit card fraud to fakes, frauds, forgeries. What to do when you find yourself handling a book which you don't have clear title to, replevin, issues around working with institutions and stolen material or alienated material. There are certain things that we are basically on our own as booksellers, especially protecting ourselves against. And that is a very we use the full 90 minutes allotted to that unit to really dive into it. Maria, anything else about sort of watching ourselves out that we do?
Yeah, I would say that more recently we've also added more focus on issues of provenance and culturally sensitive material and how to handle that sort of thing, because that is also becoming more and more important, not just to institutions, but things that maybe have been neglected in the past. So we talk quite a bit now about how to interact with material in a culturally sensitive way, and how to make sure that we've done our due diligence in terms of tracking provenance and how much would be reasonable to do on that end.
Josh?
I think just with the sort of security stuff as well. I mean, I was lucky enough to, I might buy the old man's a bookseller, so I can ask him. But I'm sure that I've asked sort of CABS faculty members questions about certain things that I've been worried about, and I think they're all, very open to, after the course, replying to an email and being able to help you out, which I think is invaluable if you don't have sort of anyone to tell you, because it's terrifying, when it's something like that. So it's good to have.
Right.
Liam, can I ask?
Yes, please, Angelica. Yes.
You would, sorry, Garrett, you just mentioned Rebecca Romney. Can you say a few words about the other faculty members? Because it's such a wonderful mix of booksellers and colleagues you have pulled together.
Sure. If you go upstream in the chat, I did drop a link in there, and that will show you who is on the faculty. And it really is a group of people who come from different ways of selling books and materials. Rebecca Romney of Type Punch Matrix, Heather O'Donnell, Honey and Wax Books, Lauren Bear, Rob Rulon-Miller. Brian Cassidy's returning this year. We've got Maria. I don't know. I trust every one of these people. I have thousands of dollars of handshake deals with every one of these people from time to time. And that's one of the things that happens in the trade. The more you work with people and the more you realize that they know what they're doing, the more we can all work with each other to thrive and make money. So that's... I'll let them all speak for themselves when you either send them queries or come out this summer. But I don't know, Maria, what do you have to say about the folks?
I would say that the one through line for the faculty is an emphasis on antiquarian stock, and that is a bit of a difficult term to define. But a lot of us do have experience in sort of the used and general, like, $30 mid-range stock. So we can definitely speak about that. But I think for the most part, our careers are made on the higher end antiquarian side. So we do tend to talk about that more. However, if you're a bookseller who really focuses more on the used market, you have a bookshop with a lot of foot traffic and so on and so forth, there is still a lot of experience in the room about that.
Right.
For example, Hélène Goulet has an open shop that has been running for years, and so she can speak quite a bit about the difference in approach in a business like that to one who's, say, working out of an office that only has, visits by appointment.
Right.
I definitely felt that it was, applicable to someone that deals in, with a lot more volume books. And it's good to know about the higher tier stuff, because that all funnels down and you can learn the other stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. And to switch changes, but what about the scholarships this year, next year, going forward? What are people's options there? If you could talk to us about that a bit.
Yeah, so we have quite a few scholarships, which are great. Some of them are regional American scholarships, so they might be less relevant to the people who are on this call, but quite a few of them are perfectly open to international applicants. Of course, there's the ILAB scholarship, which I encourage you all to apply to. And that also provides some small travel stipend. The other scholarships tend to provide for the full registration and the room and the board, but you would have to find the travel funds, which would be the big challenge, I think. But for example, all of the CABS administered scholarships, of which I think there are around 5, are open to international applicants. So I definitely encourage you guys to apply if you feel that you can do so. And there are a few privately funded scholarships as well. And if you go to our scholarship page, you'll see a big list of them, and all of the sort of qualifications and the instructions for how to apply will be there. The deadlines are coming up. A lot of them are, the deadline is the end of this month, so I would encourage you to apply quickly if you're interested.
Okay. Does anybody else have any more questions? I don't want to leave anything short, or, don't be shy. We've got some good people here to answer all your questions. So, yeah.
And look, if you don't have questions now, I'm in the directories. You can find me. Send me a note. Once we start talking about the seminar, it can be hard for us to stop talking about the seminar, because the book trade, when you can work with people you trust and who know things, is a wonderful place to work. So I would really love to encourage people, if they've got any curiosity about joining us, but have some hesitation, reach out to one of us on the faculty. Every one of us is happy to talk more, even if you don't have the questions popping into your head right now. So I hope that I can meet at least a few of you this summer, if not at the seminar, then perhaps at book fairs or elsewhere, as we kind of work the circuit. So thanks for coming out today.
I have a few questions in the chat. Is there opportunities to buy reference books? Was one of the questions.
Not really. I usually bring 5 or 6 cartons of stuff and sell basically out of the back of the room or out of my trunk of my car. So I might have some reference books with you, but it's more, we've got the reference library out for you to see kind of what we think are good foundational references in various subjects. Reference books are as cheap now as they have been in the last 500 years. You can get online and find a good bibliography that you need, usually fairly easily. So we're happy to talk about sort of the foundational works in your specialty, once we're there.
We do provide, lots of suggestions for good reference material, for sure. A lot of that's available online now. And we have every year, like an end of the week auction in which reference books appears. So, there's a chance, but we're not, in the business of selling reference books, really.
Right. Let me just check here. What is the percentage of seats for scholarships? I guess how many seats are in the class? I guess we would say.
So there's 50 seats in the class, and I would say at least a fifth of it, maybe even a third at this point, are now. Well, what we have
probably about 20 to 22 scholarships. So
wow.
Yeah,
up to 40%, roughly.
It's quite a few.
Yeah. I have another question. Would there be any information about working with auction houses?
Broadly speaking, yes.
Yeah.
Maria.
It is covered. I think in dealing with the trade, I think we have a specific section where we talk to some depth about auction houses, how to sell, how to buy, and the pros and the cons.
Okay. Wonderful. Obviously the most important question is, is there any drinking and fun going on?
Yes. There's a lot of it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just thinking back on it the last few days, and it was a great week, business aside, and business, I made, enough money there and connections from, it was well worth it. But even just for the enjoyment of hanging out with like-minded people and having fun, I mean, it's great, yeah, it's amazing. Very fun.
Yeah. Sounds like a book fair.
Basically, yeah. And in fact, last couple of years, book fairs have broken out, in the dorm. Folks have hauled stock out of their cars and have been buying and selling in the dorms. It really is kind of a weird monastic, microcosm of the trade, down to the socializing through the week and say.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's 45 minutes. Do we have any more calls? Any more questions, I should say? Yeah. Well, I think maybe we'll call that. I want to thank Maria and Garrett and Josh, and also Angelica down there on the bottom, who's the executive director for ILAB, who obviously is helping me in the background and has helped put this together. I personally myself, I grew up in the trade. Um, I've had a mentor my whole life, my father, but every time I hear about cabs, I always have this feeling that I should go even 30 years later because there's just all these little things that maybe somebody else's opinion might have changed how I do things now. Or anyway, congratulations. It really looks fantastic, and I wish you guys the best. And if anybody has any questions, going forward, you can contact me at education@ilab.org or through one of these many emails that you've seen. And I know we're all happy to answer questions and try and get you to the right people. So thanks again for coming, and I hope you guys all have a great week. Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, Angelica. We'll talk to you all soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Hey.
Bye-bye.